Okay, this is one of my favorite shows to create. And the only reason why I say that it's because I hear the most from you when I create these shows. Welcome to the quarterly review. We are reviewing quarter three of 2025. I have to say that we started calling these episodes laying bricks because one time I happened just to do this episode. I'm like, I'm going to talk about the bricks that I'm laying to my future success. Because I think that what happens is that people look at somebody's business growth or trajectory and they're like, wow, it must have been easy, or they got lucky, or I wonder what they did. These laying bricks episodes are just to outline quite literally every brick that I'm laying so that I can in the future come back and point to and say, I documented that. This is why I made that decision, or this is why this mistake or this failure ended up being one of the best things for the business. So welcome to the Jasmine Star Show, where I empower seven-figure entrepreneurs to scale to 8. And now you're getting a backstage pass to how the sausage is made. Okay, why did that come out? I have no idea. I'm a vegetarian. I haven't eaten a sausage since I was 11 years old, but here we are. Okay, quarter three of 2025. We're focusing on July, August, and September. So let's go back to the top of July. And I call this our vacation miracle. So if we go back, I knew that I needed a break in July, very much so. I was kind of like running on all cylinders and I wanted to completely unplug off social media, off my computer, and off my phone. So this is what happens. We plan a trip to Santa Barbara, California, one of our favorite cities in the world. But for all of our American listeners, you will know that that is Independence Day, and Santa Barbara is a very popular destination for people coming from Napa, down from Napa, and up from LA. So it's so expensive. Every hotel was booked. We finally scored a place that we thought was going to be really great. I'm not going to tell you the name of the place because it was not so great. So we arrive. They're at 100% capacity on the tour when we're on our golf cart and they're taking us around the property. Like the property is so busy, it's dirty. Every seat by the pool, and there's multiple pools, was taken. There was piles of towels everywhere. And I was like, oh, this does not feel at all like a relaxing vacation. It felt like spring break if you were under 11 years old. And I was like, okay, I gotta recalibrate. I'm like, it's okay, Jasmine. Everything's happening for you. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We get back up to the room. The room is not at all what we had expected. And so I was like, JD, this is not gonna cut it. Like we're gonna be here for 5 nights. This room is not gonna cut it. He's like, you're totally right. He calls. He's like, is there anything available? And he told me later that he told himself that whatever the price of the suite was, he's like, I don't even care. I will dip into our savings. Like we got it. We got to change the situation because we hardly get these like 5-night breaks. And they're like, we're so sorry. There's no availability. This was like Bethlehem and no inns anywhere. So we took Luna down to the pool and it was not the experience that I'd wanted. And I told JD, I said, hey, this is not gonna work out here. I think we should just stay here the night and like, let's forget the trip. Let's go home. We'll be more relaxed at home. So he was disappointed, but we let it be. And he says, tomorrow morning we leave. We did dinner there at the property. And he said, hey, before we go, is there anything that might turn this trip around for you so that we could leave and make it feel like it was worth your time? I said, I'm going to text my friend and maybe tomorrow morning we can go on a walk and get a cup of coffee. And cause she lives there in Santa Barbara. He said, I love that idea. So I texted her and I said, hey, I'm in Santa Barbara. Do you want to go on a walk and get a cup of coffee? And she's like, Jasmine, I'm so sorry. I'm on my way to Copenhagen. I was like, no problem. It's totally last minute. She says, where are you staying? I tell her. And she's like, 5 minutes later, she's like, do you want to stay at my beach house? And I was like, sure. She's like, I'm not there, but my assistant will let you in. We'll give you the gate codes, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, go over tonight. And I said, are you sure? It's almost 9. She's like, go over tonight. You'll get in. I tell JD is already packing our bags. We pack our suitcases. You guys, I'm not even kidding you. It was like as if the hotel was on fire. We threw everything together and we look at each other and we're like in a state of disbelief because we literally said, we're going home. This is not the trip for us. And all of a sudden, 9:30 at night, we're driving and we exit in the Santa Barbara Montecito area. Now, here's one thing. I've never seen my friend's beach house. And to be totally honest, I didn't know she had one. And so we pull in and the security gate, we go in and it's completely dark. So we don't even really see where it is that we're going, but we just follow the path. And then we exit in. We enter in, and let me just tell you, I haven't stayed in hotels as nice as this house. I'm not going to lie. Like we looked around and we thought to ourselves, is this a joke? Like there's no way that we're staying in this house right now. So we go through the house and it's already very late. We put Luna to bed, crawl into bed, and we're like, tomorrow we'll do a full go through of this house. We wake up and you know that scene in The Holiday where Kate Winslet trades houses with Cameron Diaz and she's in the bed and she's from that little Scottish, she's from that English cottage and she's there in Los Angeles and then there's like the electric blinds that go up. I had the Kate Winslet moment. So I wake up in this high ceilinged room and I realize where I'm at and I turn over and I press the blinds and the blinds come up and hand to heaven, we're on the freaking beach. There is about, 10 feet of sand and then there's the beach. And the way that we're kind of like in a cove. So what our windows open is the entire gorgeous cove that is Santa Barbara on the water. And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. It was like that Kevin McAllister scene from Home Alone. He's like, I made my family disappear. I was literally like, I made all the guests at the hotel on 4th of July disappear. I ran through that house, almost that Kevin McAllister sped up moment. And I don't want to be dramatic, but going from the fact that we were going to leave because it was not that to this wildly generous gift from a friend. And she's like, the house is yours. Do whatever you would like. The cleaning crew will come in on Monday. And I have to tell you that I had no idea then that that was going to be everything I needed, but more so my family had needed. So I felt like what experienced there, because we're talking about what happened in quarter three, but I have to tell you that the start of quarter three completely and radically impacted the end of quarter three. So we're going to start here at the pure magnetic and energetic expansion of what had happened. Because we didn't have any digital devices, we just built forts on the sand and we went on long walks and we had lazy breakfasts and JD, because number one, we weren't planning on staying in a house. And number two, she wasn't planning on hosting guests in a house. So then, the next morning JD wakes up and he comes back with like freshly baked croissants from bakeries in Montecito and a jug of coffee. And we're drinking and we're pouring our coffee from this jug into her beautiful coffee morning cups and over like the coast and it's misty and we're sitting on these plush couches and we just spoke for hours before Luna woke up. I didn't think that I needed that complete energy recalibration, but also expansion, because I don't know if you've ever been in a place that just calls you got to step up, kid. I had a you got to step up, kid moment. I'm sitting here and all of a sudden, like everything in me is like the world and life is so much bigger. Like, baby girl, I'm happy you've been playing this game, but there are bigger games to play. And will you step up to that opportunity? I'm telling you, being in that house was a opening of like a spreading of a chasm to say you have a long way to go. Start walking. I think that one of the things was it's like 3 days into our 6-day trip. We stayed there 5 nights. I asked myself, I'm not even lying. I was like, if there was ever a point that I didn't believe in miracles, this would be the trip that would challenge every belief. Because everything from the gym that she had in her house to the modern furniture to the artwork to her kitchen, like everything was seamless. The way that we would cook breakfasts, everything opened up to this idea that if you didn't believe in miracles and then this thing literally came out of nowhere, landed in our lap, slapped us across the face and said, it's real. Like everything you want and working for is real. And here is a sneak peek at it. So I will tell you that after that trip, we came back. But JD, myself, and Luna, we came back with this renewed sense of energy. And boy, did I need it. Because after we got back, the entire month of July, it was ongoing. I was building a sales team and I was working with a consulting coach and I was getting homework. So I had about an extra 6 hours of work a week. And I looked at my already full schedule and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to be taking these classes. I'm gonna have to be doing this work at the gym. So I would be listening to my trainings. I'd be doing my homework as I was getting ready for the day at the gym, going on a walk at night. And I was getting ready for our mastermind prep at this time because I was going to be training our sales team during the mastermind event that I would be having in August. So we talk about laying bricks and showing you the forecasting we had to do to say, if I have 6 extra hours of work every single week on top of an already full schedule and we're planning for an event, we needed to start 4 or 5 weeks in advance to start prepping for that. On July 11th, I had a conversation with the Speaker Bureau Conference. So there are bureaus that represent speakers, and these bureaus will all go to one national conference. And if you're asked to speak at that event, it's a big deal because bureaus will pitch you if they like you. So the owner of the event reached out to me and said, would you like to come and keynote at the Speaker Bureau event? To which I was really honored and then super intimidated. So the goal for 2026 for me was I really want to get back into speaking. I had taken a big step back in 2025. It just wasn't in alignment to where I wanted my goals to be. And now we're trying to pick it back up again, but building momentum is very difficult. So this call was very apropos. And I said, if my goal is to speak more, this opportunity is going to be great for me. So it was a strategic pitch. He came to me, asked for a few ideas. I went back and I said, this is how I see it lay out. And so I think that this is going to be really exciting. So we're going to have outbound people, perhaps if and when, I said if I was going to do well. I'm not going to say if. When I do well at the conference, there will be a lot more people lobbying on my behalf to speak at events. I will keep you posted, but this is why I'm doing this episode. I'm laying a brick in 2025 so that hopefully in October, November, December of 2026, I could look back and say that was well worth the brick and the time it took for me to build those pathways. July 14th, this is when we open a very, very, very small private beta launch to Consistent 10K. Now, I've spoken a lot on this podcast about what had happened as we built the sales team, as we debuted that new program. I've gone there, and I'm not going to repeat it here because you will know it has been months and months of training and prep. But I want to highlight that particular date because I thought that the beta launch was going to be anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. But as you will see, it took us 12 weeks to take it public. And I can get into all the details why. I actually shared that on a podcast of why it took us so long. And it was great. We had way more demand than we had supply. And we were like, we can't grow that fast. So we kept on pulling it back and pulling it back and pulling it back, debuting it in public. The demand was there, but it was a good problem to have. But I had to be very strategic and focused on slowing down. And not slowing down because I need to be small or be slow, slowing down because we had to lay things out strategically. So July 18th through August 3rd, what's happening here is I am going through and working through edge assessments of people who join the mastermind. So we have an edge assessment that when we work with consulting clients, or if I'm sitting as an equity advisor, we have our clients, we have the companies that I'm a part of do an edge assessment, which is a deep dive on their business. And we go through every single part of their business. We understand their key players. We understand their profitability. We understand profitability of individual offers. So what I did is I requested everybody in my mastermind to do the edge assessment. So over a 2 to 3 week period, I was meeting with all 20 people in the mastermind one-on-one to go through their edge assessment, to look at the opportunities for growth and development on their team, to really push on what their profitability was. So every single person had an hour session with me. So I had to fit in 20 hours of one-on-one meetings during that 3-week period. So you'll see here that the brick I was distinctly laying for the mastermind was going to be my main focus at this point in time. Now, July 23rd to the 26th, I went to a peer-led mastermind in Chicago. I did a whole podcast episode on what I learned there at that mastermind, but the key takeaway and message was I needed to focus. And what parameters did I put in process for me to focus at that mastermind, not take on new things, but say, you have to launch this thing. And even though you have other great ideas, this has to be your main focus. So I'll be sure to link that in the show notes. August 1st through 3rd. So I just went through the month of July. So now we're in August. I went to another peer-led mastermind, and this time it was in Tucson. Now, if you're sitting here and you're saying, wow, Jasmine, you're spending a lot of time with other business owners, I will tell you that my word of the year was flow. And whenever very distinct opportunities arose for me to be in rooms with people I deeply respect and admire, as I'm building out a new arm of my business, I felt like the best use of my time is to be around other people who were constantly thinking bigger and had bigger results. So this group of people in Tucson challenged me in very deep and profound ways. It was my best time to be there. So we've been working together now for like 3 years. We track our process with each other and see our growth. And the goal here was to talk about new ways to grow and scale. What I will say here again was that my focus was to stay focused. I was like, Jasmine, they're coming up with these great ideas. It's really exciting. It's highly engaging, but you have to get this arm of the business off and running before you start adding too many things to it. August 5th through the 7th, this is where I hosted my in-person event for my mastermind members. This mastermind is an all-female mastermind for 7-figure founders. These business owners are making millions in business, and they want to know how they cross the $10 million mark. So 7 to 8 figures. Now, it was hosted in Newport Beach, and this was going to be the first time that everybody was meeting for the first time as a new cohort. So I had amazing guests lined up. So Amy Porterfield, Neil Patel, Jessica Marks, Lindsay Zastro, and my team came together for 3 days to pour into these women's, to take to pour into the women, to give a deep dive of their business, to challenge their commonly held beliefs, and to put frameworks for how they might build their teams in order to scale. So I wanted to take the advice that I'd given myself, which was to do less and focus. And that became the theme of this 3-day mastermind event, is that in this temptation to do more, what happens is when you do more without very strong systems in place, the future becomes shaky. So what I wanted to do for these 3 days was, what do your systems look like? What do your teams look like? And are you truly set up to scale? If we're not that, what do we need to do to strip away to get us to that point? August 16th, I posted a vlog about this event, so you could see it there on YouTube if you want a behind the scenes look at what it was. I went to a Powerhouse Women event. I spoke on a podcasting panel there where there was about, I think, 600 or 700 women there, all entrepreneurs. And I spoke about creating content, about my podcast. And one of the things that came up again and again was this idea that many people struggle with imposter syndrome. And I'm going to tell you about a switch that flipped for me when it came to imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, as it's classically defined, is I don't feel like I don't feel like I should be doing this, or I don't feel like I am capable, or I am not special, or I don't know if I should be doing this. It's like this less than theory, right? And I once heard it described by Jay Shetty as imposter syndrome isn't that you are less than, it's just you might know less than somebody else. And I loved that so much, because when I go to these events and I see the manifestation of imposter syndrome, I now look at that with deep empathy, because it's not about the version of me who didn't feel like she was enough. It's about understanding that life was giving me signs for what I needed to learn more so I could step into the next level of myself. So during this time, by now we are in the middle of August, and I and my team member, Katie, we are still doing all of the sales calls. So in addition to my workload, I am waking up early in the morning. I am taking care of things early in the morning. And then after Luna goes to bed, because in the middle of the day, I was really over-indexing on sitting on sales calls. I wanted to learn what we needed to do. I wanted to build a strong script. I wanted to build our sales system for who we were serving, to give and over-deliver on what their expectations were. So October 26th through the 31st. So for 5 days, it was very last minute. I usually try to get away for a couple of days on my own to recalibrate and figure out, like, that's kind of like halfway through the year. And I look at my goals and I look at to where I'm tracking, and I ask myself, are those goals still possible? And if so, what do I need to do to change in order to hit them in the last 6 months of the year? Well, I can get into all the reasons why my plans fell through. And then all of a sudden, I felt very called. I can't explain it, but I'll try. There's this place that I've been wanting to go to for years. It's called Sensei, and it's in Lanai, Hawaii. I normally go to Sensei in Palm Springs. It's like a health and wellness center. It's very woo and country. You do like country? Maybe not country. Very woo and crunchy. It is very crunchy. It's like very hippie, granola type. And in health wellness, you do a lot of meditation. You do a lot of self-discovery, personal development. And I've always loved it. And they were closed. Sensei Palm Springs was closed when I had the break scheduled in my calendar. So I looked at other wellness centers and nothing was resonant. And I asked JD, I was like, what do you think about me going to Sensei in Lanai? And he's like, okay, that's a long trip and you'll be solo. And so if you went out there, he's like, you probably should stay for a couple more days since it's a significant trip. And we were going to this place called the Sawdust Festival here in Laguna Beach. It happens during the fall through Christmas. It's a lot of artisans who live in Laguna Beach. And so you buy tickets and you just buy from local artisans. And we were walking through this, and out of nowhere, like Luna runs up to this art display and she pulls out, she loves cats. So she pulls out this art piece and it's two cats. And the title of the art piece was Cats in Hawaii. And I was like, okay, that's just crazy. I'm talking about Lanai and the cats in Hawaii. Okay, it's nothing. And then we're walking, and then I see like this display. It's like you buy raffle tickets to win a trip to Hawaii. And I was like, Jasmine, just ignore it. Now you're just looking for reasons to go. But you know how they say that signs come in three, or you have to see or hear something three times for you to know it's time for you to pay attention. Well, next door, there's a restaurant at Sawdust Festival, and you eat outside. And JD had ordered food, and Luna and I were sitting outside. And why, of all the songs that are playing, is Ziggy Marley's On a Beach in Hawaii. JD is coming out with his tray of food, and he's singing. He loves reggae, and he's like, on a beach in Hawaii. And our eyes meet, and he's like, are you supposed to go to Hawaii? And I'm like, I think I'm supposed to go to Hawaii. On the drive home, I book a flight to Lanai, and I book a stay at Sensei. And I will have to tell you, I'm going to probably have to come back and do a separate episode. There is a lot of stuff that has come up for me in my personal life in 2025. Like I've said 1,000 times before, I'm very open on this podcast. This is a place where I am seen for all of me. And what I will say is there's been a lot of things that have been uncovered in my personal life, a lot of things that will explain 1,000 things over in retrospect. I am still doing a lot of work, and I'm talking to a lot of people to figure out what I should be talking about publicly and not. But what I will say was I went to Lanai to have a breakthrough about my business. And not only did I have a lot of clarity around what I was doing, I had a breakthrough around who I was and who I needed to be in order for us to scale in the magnitude that I want in 2026. So I am able to leverage past experience, things that I felt like completely knocked my teeth out, and learn how I leverage that into this next version of who I am. If you ever have an opportunity to get away, even if it's just for one night, to really go deep and focus on who you are as a business owner in relation to the business, I highly recommend it. So now we are officially in September. It is September 10th, and I have an advisory day for MemberUp. So one of the companies that sits within our holding company, I sit as an advisor for equity in a company called MemberUp. Amy Sangster was a guest on the podcast. She talked about building community and AI and the future of work, and it was so good. I will be sure to link that in the episode. So we get together about quarterly. We meet every other week. And then we meet quarterly to do a deep dive of the business. Like, what are we doing? What are our projections? Version 2 was just about to be launched to raving reviews. The updates and the feature set were so beautiful and like chef's kiss. But we were talking about like, what does it look to market it? What is the launch plan? How are we growing? What are the funnels? And so that's what I do as an advisor into companies. And so it was such a great day. On September 11th, I was a speaker at an AI and efficiency event with Nick Sonnenberg. So I went to Malibu, and one of the things that was really great is Nick was a podcast guest. I will be sure to link to Nick's podcast here again in the show notes. And here I want to pause. When we talk about laying bricks and you hear me say, oh, Nick Sonnenberg was a guest, Amy Sangster was a guest, Lindsay Zastro, who spoke at my mastermind, has also been a guest on the podcast. Like, I want to be very clear and let you know that every relationship and every give type relationship and every opportunity and every brand expansion and association is laying a brick. You know, I would have never expected, like, having invited Nick to be a guest on my podcast, that he would then go and invite me to speak at his mastermind and then open the door and make so many connections for me to other entrepreneurs. The same thing with Amy Sangster is, look, we were introduced, we got to know each other. She started asking me a lot of tech questions around development and my experience with it. And she distinctly saw the value that I bring to her company. And so you see how all of these interweaving pieces start working together over time. So if right now you're at a point and you're wondering, well, I'm not seeing the fruit of my labor. Like, Jasmine, I'm planting seeds, but like my harvest hasn't come in. I just want to remind you to stay focused. Sow seeds without expectation. Sow seeds in just goodness and benevolence. Sow seeds without the intention of getting something in return, so that when the harvest does come in, the connections and the relationships you've made with people is they show up not just for you, but for your business. And so when your business wins, they are winning too. So I spoke at Nick's mastermind. I was speaking about building a brand and marketing on social media and how we're leveraging AI in all of our businesses. And it was there that I met really incredible people. Some of the people that I met in the room, you will be seeing them come on the podcast as guests. So please keep your eye out for Dr. Alan Bernard. He is going to be teaching entrepreneurs how to make better decisions faster and how to move our limiting beliefs so we get achieve the results we want. Amazing. So keep your eyes out for that. So now we're at September 18th, where I was invited to speak at the Wealthy and Well-Known Summit with Rory and AJ Vaden. They had a summit for entrepreneurs to build their personal brands, and they asked me to come in, and it was a different experience. Normally, I'm invited to do a keynote. They invited me to do a Q&A session, and I have to tell you, it was so real and it was so raw, and I got off the stage and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I should have said all the things that I said, but I said what I said. And I realized in that moment that I am intended to do one of two things with who I am and the content I create. I am to attract people, or I am to repel people. And the minute that I reconciled those differences there in Nashville, I said, you came to say what you know your truth is. And I will not be for everybody. And that's okay. And what I intended to do was to speak my truth. And if it resonated with other people, that was going to be a good thing. So I spoke about my experiences building businesses and then building the holding company, all while using my personal brand to leverage them. And I decided to do something a little bit different too. I'm actually taking the recording of that event and I'm going to be sharing it in just a few episodes here on the podcast. Why would I do something like that, having got off a stage and questioned whether or not I said too much? I want to be me. I want to be 100% me, unapologetically, and show you what it takes to build a business in public. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, September 20th, I went to an all-female day of 8- and 9-figure business owners mastermind here in Newport Beach. So it was hosted by Natasha Willis and Lori Harder. They had about 15 women fly in from around the United States, and it was a full day of getting together, talking about businesses, growing, seeing what's happening, and synergizing what we're seeing and learning from each other and how we're going to be building our businesses into 2026. I have to say, it was really inspiring and incredible. Sometimes, not always, different groups of people might get different raps for not sharing or being ego-driven. And so to be in a group of people who were rooting for themselves as much and as hard as they were rooting for you was really powerful and incredible. And then everybody in that room was like, hey, I can make an intro there and I can make this connection. And it felt so good and synergistic to be in a room for a short amount of period of time, get those activations, and everybody goes and says, okay, well, we'll meet up again in however many long, like 6 or 8 months. That was beautiful. At the end of September 24th through the 31st, myself, JD, and Luna went to celebrate my 20th wedding anniversary. I said my wedding, oh, come on, bride princess, kick back. Our wedding anniversary. JD and I had been married 20 years. We were babies when we got married, and we knew we wanted to go somewhere special. We absolutely love Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. And when he had said, hey, this is where I think we should be spending our 20th wedding anniversary, I said, yes, let's do it. And he said, so should we get somebody in our family to babysit Luna? And I said, absolutely not. Baby girl is my whole world. And so to celebrate our 20th anniversary with her was really incredible. Here again, I unplugged. I didn't take a computer. I wasn't on social media, and that felt great. That felt really, really good. And so I am ending Q3 the same way I began Q3, by unplugging, by getting white space, by going deep and within, and then just taking the time to recalibrate. Who am I? What do I want? And what am I focusing on? And I hope that at the end of this episode, what you hear are the same invitations for yourself. Who are you? What do you want? And what are you focusing on? I create these episodes to bring you on the journey of what it looks like to build quarter by quarter. When I gaze into what will happen in Q4, there is a lot of unknowns. In fact, at the time of this recording, during the lunch break on this podcasting day, I admitted to the podcast producer, I was like, I'm just tired of not knowing all the things. Like every day I'm like, oh, I realize I don't know this. Oh, I realize I don't know that. Here's another thing I yet don't know. And it has been a series of answering unknowable questions and making the decision to say, I'm going to make a decision without all of the information, and I'm going to make the best decision I know how, and it might be wrong, and that's okay. Because however fast I made that decision is however fast I can change that decision. And friends, that is the story of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship will be filled with days that are fully dark and completely overwhelming. There will be days that are high and light, and even on those days that you just barely can't believe this is your life, they will be filled with unrequited joy. And then there are days where you feel like if everything could have gone wrong, that was the type of day that you had. And then on those far and few moments on the in-between, you look around and you actually tell yourself, I am having so much fun. I hope that for you. I hope that in the mix of the emotion, from the dark nights to the early mornings to figuring out a bunch of questions that you don't know how to figure out, and yet you find yourself being able to do that if you look back at your past and you realize that you didn't know anything back then. And the moment that has brought you here now today is so much bigger than you ever thought you were capable of. Somebody once told me that my current PR will soon be my warm-up. My current max out, the heaviest that I could possibly lift at some point in the future, will become my warm-up. And I think the same for business. There is a version of me who can never imagine doing the thing that I'm doing today. And there's a version of me in the future who is looking at me today saying, keep going. Now is not the day you quit. You haven't finished, and you will figure it out. I hope the same for you. Thank you for watching and listening to these quarterly reviews. Like always, I will only make them if I hear back from you. If it resonated, if it was helpful, if you made it to the end, shout out. This is your invitation to send me a direct message. I would love to connect with you, and thank you personally for listening. Friends, this is the Jasmine Star Show.